guy, like a swan here. I mean, look calm. Sam just gave me the countdown, like 4 seconds to the show. It's like, oh, here we go, right. Countdown. Good morning. We've got your craft your stash. Now, I know I did say that we would try very hard, very soon, to do the foil press. Didn't kind of give you enough warning, did I, to say it's going to be today? All turned around really, really quick, but we've got the craft your stash when it comes to the foil press. So this is the one that we were meant to do a couple of weeks ago, and then we had the gremlins in the system, and of course we had to, well, just delay that ever so slightly. So we've got it here today. What I would highly recommend, massive thank you to Taylor that works in the office next door, because as much as I've got an idea of the basics that I'm going to be showing you, we did do the craft clinic on Saturday, where I gave you verbal answers within the foil press, but we are going to have a bit of a play. I've got my foil press ready to go, but questions that I can actually demonstrate with, that's exactly what we are going to be doing. So still ask any questions. Still ask any questions throughout the show. We've got Rachel on the show. Let me put that screensaver off, otherwise it just keeps going into lock. Any questions, just ask Rachel. She's going to fire them across to me, and then we can then start to show you kind of the key thing. Because one of the main questions that keep getting asked is, one, how to use it, but two, how to use a normal die when it comes to your foil press. Can you use a foil press? See, the foil press, they're actually called foil press stamps, not dies, and I'll talk you through that in a minute. But can you use foil press stamps in with the Gemini? Yeah, you can. It's involving embossing with the embossing mat, and we'll show you that one just shortly as well. So as I was saying, Rachel is on the show here, so saying good morning to her. Tracy's already in, Louise is in, saying good morning. Louise is saying, been waiting for this show. Hello, Craig. Well, hello to you too. It's lovely to have your company. You've got me all day today with Mr. Mosby later on. He'll be in just shortly. Where it is Tuesday, so we've got Wake Up Call, where we're going to have a look at what's coming up later on in the day. We've got a masterclass when it comes to our great outdoors, and then when it comes to launch party, we'll have a look at some of our recently launched items as well, including that phenomenal Western collection that launched yesterday with Ben and Leanne. Absolutely incredible launch that I knew you guys would love. So it is me, it is you, it is Rachel, and it is Sam who is, well, directing me. I'm not finished, Sam. I'm not finished. We've also got Matty in the gallery as well. So Matty helps at the weekends when it comes to Prodco, when Jake's not in. So he's work experience this week. Work experience on this side of the building, Matty. Good luck. You're going to need it. So, questions. You guys know we like to have fun here. Questions when it comes to the foil press. We're going to go through the absolute basics as well as answering any of the questions here. What I would say is go back onto YouTube, go into Crafter's Companion YouTube, and just type in foil press. Now, predominantly, you're going to have me there when it comes to the foil press, showing you all the different things. Of course, we've got less than an hour now, so of course, doing all the different things, because foiling enables you. Now, Craft Your Stash, of course, is about crafting the stash that you've got at home. So the foil press is not something that we have within our range anymore, but thousands and thousands and thousands of you do have the foil press. You either use it on a daily basis, you use it, you know, periodically, and some of you have even got it still in the box. What I would say to start with, because foil enables you to do all your different mediums, all your different cardstocks, you know, your shedless glitters, you can do your acetates, you can do your vellums, you can do your leathers, your fabrics, all of that you can do. It can be a little bit daunting to start with. So I would always say start with cardstock. Keep it really, really simple. Get that confidence when it comes to cardstock with the foiling that you've already got at home. Foil are heat-based foils, so you can't use your cold foils. So any foils that you've got, for instance, like our transfers or anything that you would then just start to use when it comes to that cold foil feature, then of course you can't use them with the foil press. Any other branded foiling system that is heat-based, you can use those foils on ours. Same with our foil press stamps. you can use it with the other branded systems out there, and vice versa. So it really is quite flexible in what you can use and where you can use them. I will touch upon, as I said at the start, their normal dies. It is important that you have your normal dies facing in a certain direction. But when we've got everything laid out, so I've got some white, I've got some black, I have got some of my foil in here. For anyone that does have it and has both types of foils, what I would say here is, one that get asked quite a lot, we've got our multi-craft foil, which has given us our pink top, and then we've got our paper craft foil here, which is then my purple top. Now that, me personally, I would really only use for something like real leather, something that is really quite substantial. 99.9% of the time, I will always use paper craft foil. Paper, card, vellum, acetate, shedless glitter, fabric, faux leather, all of that, I will still use the paper craft foil because that is the one that's the great all-rounder. I will very, do you know something? Seeing all the years that we've done the foil press, I don't think I've ever gone through a full roll of our multi-craft foil. That's how very little that I use it. I always use the paper craft foil, and you will see that. Yes, Rachel, it is big enough, isn't it? It is big enough. It is, you know, wrestling, of course. Let's just turn it that way, just as Johnny walks right past the window as I do that. Anyway, let's move on that one there. Foil press. Let's bring in the foil press here, because what we have got is the ability for you to foil at home when it comes to your cardstock, your papers, your mediums, all that sort of stuff. So you've got that. Now you're in full control. What I love about this is going a little bit to the foil where I said I only use paper craft foil. When it comes to our foil press, you do have your low, you've got your medium, and then you've also got your high. Now, I only ever have it on low. Now, I know it's a little bit, you can just see the green light there. So let's switch it all off here, because you're going to come along, plug it in, and we have had people in the past contact customer service saying, I can't get it, why is it not working? Now, it might sound silly, but people do sometimes forget there is a switch on the side here. So you just need to make sure that that switch is on there, and then come along, it will be on red, so technically it's on, but it's not powered. We're going to press that on, and what's going to happen is where we've got the green there, that will be, that will illuminate green once that's come to temperature here. So going back to what I was saying, to keep it really simple for anyone that's still got it in the box there, I only ever use low. That's all that I've ever used. So it doesn't matter whether it is a larger stamp, whether it is a small stamp, whether it is a die cut and die that you're going to foil with, all of those, every one, doesn't matter the size, is on low. What you're doing is you're changing the time that it's sitting on that platform. So the smallest foil press stamp needs the very littlest time, and then your larger one are going to need that larger time because, of course, it needs to build up that heat there. So build the confidence with cardstock. You do, if you look in your box, you do have a booklet, and you've also got a grid as well. Now, this is only a teeny amount of what you can foil. You really can foil so much more. So within that one there, that is your foil stamps that we're going to be using predominantly. We have done in our ranges where they foil, stamp, and they cut at the same time. And then there's your multi-surface foil. So just a few items you would use the multi-surface foil. Everything else is going to be your paper craft foils, in my opinion here, and I have been using it for a long time. Build up the confidence with your cardstock, keep it on low, and then follow the booklet. That's what I would always say to start with. Follow the times in the booklet and get to know your machine. It's one of those that you have to think of your environment as well. You know, it could be a freezing cold room here in the UK in the middle of December, but you guys stateside could be in a boiling hot room and the weather's absolutely gloriously roasting, and you need to take into account. So some things might need a second or two more, some might need a second or two less. Get to know your machine, but leave yourself notes. You do have a notelet bit in the back of that booklet, so leave yourself some notes. But shall we, before we have a look at the questions that we've already got, Stephen's in, Doreen's in, let's have a look at what we had as a foil press stamp. So I'm really going into this box of delights that we've had from the past. I'm looking to see if we've got, I like this one. This is an old background that we done where it's the honeycomb. Now this is a full piece of metal. Now yes, you can use it in your Gemini with the embossing mat, so that detail will then emboss. If you've got any other systems out there of the letterpress, you can use it on that as well. But of course for us, we're going to be using it with the Foilpress, as well as I will show you how to emboss. Now if I go back to the booklet, just to show you here, when it comes to the booklet, for instance, it does say 300 GSM. Let me just move that. There we go. So I'm not moving about for Sam there. We've got 300 GSM cards. I know this is going to be hard to see because it is quite small, so I'll just talk you through it. It's 300 GSM cardstock, and it tells us if it's a small die, medium die, or large die. As I said before, we actually class them as stamps, not dies, but that is what it's referring to. It lets us know if it's a small one, the temperature, which as I said, we're always using low, and then it tells us the time here. Now this is a large stamp here. Now you might think, well, how do you distinguish between what is large or what's small, medium and large? What we tend to say is, break it into thirds. So if it is covering like 2/3, so that would be the equivalent of a small foil press stamp, 2/3 would be the equivalent of a medium foil press stamp, and then that full platinum platform will be the equivalent of the large platform. So you can see this, we would class as a large one there. So for something like this, we can go back to that booklet. As it says here, 300 GSM cardstock. If I go all the way to large, it's telling me I need it on low and I need to have it on 30 seconds. I know my machine. I know that I need 35 seconds. I need that 5 extra seconds because I know my machine. I'll talk you over when it comes to things such as underfoiling and overfoiling as well, but we're all good to go. Once it comes to temperature, that light will illuminate green, which it already has. So all that we now need to do is we've got our minutes, we've got our seconds, we do have the start, and we do have the reset if we need to. So because it's 35 seconds, I don't need to worry about the minutes. All that I'm going to do is the seconds, and I'm just going to go all the way up to 35 seconds. So if we go all the way up to 35 seconds, now once we've got it to 35 seconds, what I'm going to do is then I'm just going to pop this on to, I'll keep it that way, there we go. I'm just setting it on my platform. Now I do have a question here about the grid and to line up. I'll talk you through later on. We're going to set that on and we're going to press start. Now, whether you're watching Leanne or Sarah or the two Debbie, sometimes they'll do it a little bit different. I personally like to put my carbon plate over the top here. You get this included, and this is for the foil press. I like to keep it on so it retains that heat. My thought process is the heat follows up and then it just evaporates. So I like to keep my carbon plate on the top, and then all that we do is we wait. Once it counts down, it will beep. Now, do you know what you need to do? Is you need to make sure that you've got your foils in that to start or to hand. So we're going to do that again. And the reason being, let's say for instance, I cut my foil, I go and cut my card, I align it up, that's had 40 seconds, 45, maybe 50 seconds. That is then where you're going to get overfoiling. So there's too much heat. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the beginning. I'm just going to let that cool ever so slightly. You will, of course, have your magnetic grips and the tweezers and that. You can see some might, of course, be heat sensitive, but it's lukewarm. It's not boiling hot. I can easily pick it up, no problem at all. But the key thing is, when you're foiling, you have your foils to hand and you have your cardstock cut to hand, because it needs to be instant. So I'm going to go in with, have we got a gold in here? Have I got a gold in my box here? I love using our creator cards. So what I've done is I've gone, and I'll show you this later on, one from our Mediterranean Dreams. And we'll use that. And it's a good way to show how you can turn all your foil systems in with your background dies from other collections. We've got gold. Gold on black really does show it off really well. So let's do it. Also, gold and black shows mistakes. So let's do it in this way so that you can see how beautiful and perfect it is with your foil backgrounds. I'm going to go in with our matte black cardstock that we've got. Now you can do linen, you can do hammered, you can do textured, you can do all of that. What you need to keep in mind is as if you're stamping with a stamping ink. You're not going to get the crispest outline, but you will absolutely get that beautiful outline from the foil. So let's go in here. I'm just going to chop this one down here, and let's go in. Let's go 5. I think they are. What is that one there? It is 5 inches. So let's take another bit here, and we will also show you how you can use the waste. You can use the waste of your foil, and that's a cool effect as well. So back to the beginning again here. We've got it, we're on green, we're ready to go. I've gone in, we're right at the beginning here. So let's go 35 seconds, up to 35 seconds. Once we are there, what we can do is then we can then just pop our foil press stamp on, and then line that one up, and then I'm just going to press start. Going back to what I was saying before, I like to put my carbon plate on, and then we simply wait for the countdown. It will bleep to let us know, and once that is bleeped, we can then run it through. Hadass, as well as the questions I've got at the side of me, Hadass is saying, do you have a tip for masking? Do you have a tip for masking with the foil press? If you're mean like kind of masking sections, so what I would do, you can use your low tack tape to tack foil press stamps down. I wouldn't use it to mask. If you've got something like a masking tape, something like that, stencil tape, I would use that, and you'll be absolutely fine. So now we're ready to go. So what we're going to do, our heat foil shiny side down, we're going to pop that on with our cardstock here. And then we're going to go back in with our carbon plate, and then what we're going to go in our foil press plate, we're going to then slide that one out. Now with the G2, and this is actually a question that we've got at the side here, and that was, who was this one? It was about, there we go. So Tracy is saying, I bought a foil press die by mistake, was wondering if it would work. Oh, that is a die. I was thinking about, you were meaning if your foil press will work with the G2. So foil press works with your Gemini Junior. Don't need to do anything different. Gemini Junior straight in. With the OG Gemini, you would have had to, and you've probably got an extender plate. Use that. Remember, all of this is on YouTube that you can go back to as well. But for the foil press, because you've got that beam, you've got that sensor, it means that you can still just use that A5 plate that comes with the foil press, pop it in, and it's going to foil like a dream. Let's then move that one out the way. Now, look at that to start with. Are you ready, Sam? Because Sam's not seen this, have you? No, he's really excited. He's really excited. He can't keep his excitement. That's well good, as Sam just said there. Look at that. Look at that. So for me, it was 35 seconds. That is black card with our gold foil. How incredible is that? Now, I'm going to show you the waste just shortly, but let's show you then. It's like, oh, that's great, Craig. Okay, but what about a normal die? We've got a normal die. Same theory, really. So if I take this one here, what you need to keep in mind is despite the size, so this one here is your Mediterranean tile, which is a substantial die. This needs seconds, absolute seconds, this one here. The reason being, it's just the tip. It is the tip of the actual die that you're going to foil. So here's the difference here between a foil press stamp and a normal die. So your normal die has what we call as that cutting blade. Of course, it's not sharp, it's all to do with the pressure. So that has got that really, really fine tip that will cut within your Gemini plates. Your foil press stamp, notice how the design's wider. It's as if it is an actual stamp, but in metal forum. So that won't cut, because the detail is a little bit too wide. So that's how you know the difference between a foil press stamp and a foil and die. You've got your die cut tip, that fine tip, and then of course the foil press stamp is a little bit wider. So if I was to bring in, say we've done an old border one here. So again, can you see the edge? The detail is a few millimeters width. So it's not an actual fine tip, it won't cut, but what it will do is it will press and stamp that foil into position. You can letterpress with your ink pads with them if you want to. You can emboss them like we'll do just shortly as well. But that's how you know the difference between a foil press stamp and a normal die. So for anyone that's wanting to know that, hopefully that helps. Louise, good question. Absolutely not. You can't use your foil press on your MIDI machine. And I'll show you that because, has Leanne done a runner with her MIDI yesterday, has she? Is it across? Where's it gone? Where's it gone? So, right. So it's a really, really good question. No, you can't, because if I tell you what, let me show you the mini. I'm really just wanting the depth of the mouth here. Of course, your mini has the same depth as the MIDI, as you can imagine there. So just imagine that this is your MIDI here. If I were, see the thickness, it won't go. It won't go. So your foil press can only work with your junior, your OG, or your G2, so your electric die cutting machines. So really, really good question. It's one that we get asked all the time. Can you use it within the MIDI? No, you can't, because of the thickness when it comes to the mouth. So hopefully that helps. What you could do is you could use your foil press stamps in to kind of like do your letterpress. You could do that, but not with the actual foiling system. Right, let's go back in. So we're going to go in with our normal die here, and then I will. That was the two main things a lot of you were all wanting to see. This goes for sentiments as well. What you could do, if we've got time, we should do, you know, like something from our Western collection. So what you could do is you could foil that, the detail of that, and then you can use the outside die to then die cut it out. So you can do that. That's when you can then start to mix and match if you want to. You can then start to use your normal dies to then foil and then die cut. So once you really start to get down that really cool rabbit hole of the foil press, you start to realize all of these different things that you can be doing. So let's switch that one on, back on here. Switched it off there a minute ago, and then we're going to then just pop. So we're on red, but that's because I switched it off and it's gone down in temperature. So all that we need to do is we just need to wait on that going green, and then we can then get going. So what we can do is let's have a look at, oh, there we go, perfect. So this is, when you use your normal dies, this is a little bit of trial and error. Now for this one here, I'm going to go, believe it or not, 3 seconds. 3 seconds for that. I know mine's blowing, but trust me on that one. It might need a little bit more, but this is trial and error. It's been, I don't actually think I've used this specific one on the foil press before. Not that it matters, I've done other sizes round about that. So I'm just going to cut my card. So a couple of things. You want to make sure, of course, your card is cut to the size that you want. The other thing that's important, and this is where we'll talk about your overfoiling, you want to make sure that you've got just the right amount of foil. If you've got excess foil, if you've got overhang of foil, what can happen is as it's laid down, what can then happen is because you've got the pressure, the heat with the Gemini, that overfoiling could stick to the card where you don't want it. That's what we call overfoiling. So that's why one of the main ways around it is you just want to make sure that your foil is just a teeny little bit bigger than your actual foil and die. Try not to have the fan blowing right in your direction as you're trying to cut foil, but there we go. And then what I'm going to do, as I said, we're going to try 3 seconds. So can you imagine like a little sentiment in that? 2 seconds, 1 second. But let's go in. So we've got everything, foil, card. Remember, this could still be any of your different card stocks. So I'm going to pop that on there. Let's pop my carbon plate. We're going to do that countdown, 3 seconds for it to beep. That's it. because it is only that very, very tip of the die that we are wanting to heat up. So we're going to pop that in there. Also, make sure your die's facing upwards. Now, I'm going to recap that because I do need to be semi-quick to run this through. I will recap the positioning of a normal die. It needs to be facing up. Other words, what's going to happen is you're going to cut into that heat base of the platform, which you don't want to do. So it's always facing upwards. And because you've not got too much pressure, it's not going to cut into the card or your plate. So you're still just going to put, of course, that carbon plate. I keep calling it carbon plate. Double-sided dies were carbon plate. That's your foil press plate. Now look at that already. Are you ready for your mind to be blown, Sam? Look at that. I do not know if Nicola's got one of these. How cool is that? I've got a spare one, Sam. You can borrow mine. How cool is that? So that is a normal wafer-thin die. Sarah's Signature, Nature Garden. It could be your Crafter's Companion. It could be any brand as long it is your silver wafer-thin die. So not your thicker dies, not your multi-craft dies. It has to be the silver wafer-thin dies. As long as it's that, you can use any brand when it comes to the actual foil press here to be foiling with them. It is so cool that what you can then start to do. I mean, that one there, could you imagine if we went in with our gems from our Touch of Sparkle in the middle? Any of these little excess bits, just give it a wipe with your finger. That's it. That's all that it is. And then you can see now that you've got all that precise detail. So remember, it won't cut. It's not going to give you a thick outline. It's just going to be what would cut on that cutting line is now foiling. So you can do that with all of your dies when it comes to the wafer-thin dies. And I know I keep repeating that, so apologies, but it is one that get asked all the time. Why won't my rose gold dies work? You can't use them. It has to be the wafer-thin dies. Right, the waste technique. Let's do the waste technique, and we will, promise, go to the questions that we've got because you have sent them in and Taylor's given them to me, so we will cover them. Waste technique, this is one of those that's not in the booklet. So if you've not seen this before, take note, or they're all back, of course, on the Crafter's Companion YouTube channel. What I just done there, I should have showed you, it was sitting at 3 seconds. Now I could have just come down to 0, or you can just go reset. So let's say, for instance, actually, you will never, ever, ever need it at 2 minutes. So let's say we've got it at 1 minute 5. Just hit the reset, takes you right back to the zeros, and that's you good to start. So the waste technique, what you're going to need, you will need a magnetic shim. Now, I use the same one. Remember, look, it's our original Junior. I use the same one all the time for my foil press. I've got one for my die cuts, one for my foil press. You don't have to. You can absolutely use the same one for your foil press and your die cutting as well. So don't think you have to purchase a separate one. I just like to keep one separate. So I've got my magnetic shim. I've also got my carbon, I keep saying carbon plate. It's not the carbon plate, it's the foil press plate. It looks like the carbon one from the double-sided dies. What I also then need is 2 sheets of 300 GSM cardstock. Now, it doesn't have to be your good cardstock, as long as it's 300 GSM, which is essentially giving us kind of like 600 GSM. 2 shims, I've got my foil press plate, I've got my magnetic shim, and then what I'm also then going to need is my waste foil and my chosen cardstock that I'm going to then foil onto. So let's just do white so you can see the gold on the white here. And this is where you are going to ramp up the time, because it's all about the time as well as the pressure. So for the waste technique, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 1 minute 10. I'm going to go 1 minute 10. So take the waste, but you need to make sure it's shiny side facing down. Otherwise, if you do it that way, you're going to be left with a beautiful pattern onto your platform. Now, it's not going to damage it, but, you know, I'd rather not do that. So you're just going to make sure it is shiny side facing down. We're then going to pop our chosen card, so the card that we want to foil onto. which is that one. We're then going to go in with our 2 shims. I'm going to go in with my magnetic, and then I'm going to go in with my Foilpress plate. We're on green, we're ready to go, so we're going to press start here. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's that large piece of waste or if it's a smaller piece of waste, I will still always do 1 minute 10 because it's all about that time that it needs to sit on the foil press in conjunction with, of course, the pressure. Bianca's in saying good morning from Port St. Florida, saying good morning. Aileen's in saying gorgeous, Craig. Put a B on it, absolutely. Things like that, you can do that. If you've got your flora and fauna collection, I know, actually, have we got it on today? Or no, I think I'm thinking head to next week. I think I've got it on a show next week. But yeah, the bumblebee, you can do that. If you've got your flora and fauna, you can do that, no problem whatsoever. But when it comes to the foil press, predominantly, I use it really in basic form. So I'll do it for my simple backgrounds. I'll do the waste technique and that as well. So as much as the variety of things it enables you to do, I do use it within that simple form. You could die cut your nesting dies in there if you want to. That could be a simple mat and layer. Happy Father's Day on the bottom. There's your card. Now that that's beeped, so what we're going to do, let's just line that up and make sure that we're just pull it out flat, and then we're going to run it through. You will have that little bit of pressure and you'll hear it, and that's fine, don't worry about that. It's good because what it's doing, that waste of the foil, it's pushing it into the cardstock. So as it comes out, it will make a little, not too bad of a distinctive sound. We're going to take all the layers away. So we take them away. We're going to take the waste. We've got a little bit of that residual, which is great. What will happen if you didn't have the shims as well, any of that waste would go onto the plate there. Now, if it happens, it doesn't matter. It'll still work just as normal, but that also captures any of the waste. And then as I turn that around, what we've then got is then our background. What was waste is now transferred onto our white card, and look at that. Other than that little strip at the edge there, there is nothing left with on that clear back in there. We've used it all. We've done the positive, and then we've also done the negative when it comes to the black card and then also the white card. Showing you how you can then, of course, use your normal dies as well. So that one's in there. So let's set that in. Now, if you're not using the foil press, switch it off, because what can happen is if you're not using it and you've got it all powered on, the heat is continuously going round and round and round and round. And what will happen is over time, and I'm only going to do it ever so slight, what can happen, Sam, can we go forward just for a second? Thank you. What could happen, or will happen actually, is that will start to buckle upwards when you're not using it, but you keep the heat going all the way around. So do all your foiling together, and then when you're not using it, just switch it off, and then once you start to need it again, you can then just start powering it up and then doing what you need to do. So yeah, hopefully that helps when it comes to the plate. Laurie's saying, hello Craig and everyone. Love that you're going over the foil press again, Craig. I just need to use mine, and this is the encouragement I need. Awesome. That's what obviously all the Craft Your Stashes are about as well. It's giving you that confidence. It's giving you that other look at what we've done within our ranges for you to use them. Because these are going to work with all of your older collections, but if you've got the foil press, these are going to work with all your new collections as well. I mean, your creator cards, your nesting dies. What they're doing is they're giving every collection you've got an other way of advancing it. So for instance, you've maybe got your Sarah signature with the stamp, you've got the die, you've maybe got an embossing folder. Well, now technically, with that background die, you've also got a foiling implement as well. Or emboss it, as I'll show you just in a second. So let's have a look with the questions that would come through saying, so this is Cindy Connie is saying, I have the foil press, but I've never used it. I've used another brand which died, so I got CC, but it looks complicated with all the settings. Well, hopefully I've made it less complicated by keep it on low, and all that you need to do to start with is follow that booklet. Start with your cardstock, Build that confidence when it comes to the card and the timing. Get the confidence with black card, white card, a smaller foil press stamp, a medium one, then a larger one, and then just start to play. I would then bring in a normal die. Please always remember when you're using a normal die, it's facing upwards, so you don't cut into the actual heat base. But hopefully that is it, just keeping it really, really simple. And then maybe move on to a coated cardstock. Then maybe move on to a vellum and then an acetate. Just keep it one step at a time and build up that confidence. Jen Shank is saying, I would like to see the steps on how to foil a regular die again, please. There we go. Covered that when it came to the Mediterranean. We've got Kim is saying, I would like to see how to use a regular die in the foil press. What works best? There we go. Covered two birds with one stone there. Crafting, not grafting by Hillary saying, the hardest thing is getting stuff centered. That is my main issue. Right, let's have a look, because you've got grids on it. So you've got grids on your foil press. So if we come in here, what you have got is you have got inches all the way around here. I know it's a little bit harder to see. If you've got it at home, get it out and have a look, because you've actually got the 0 inch starts within the center. So just where my pinky is, there is the 0. So it's then 1 inch, 2 inch, 2.5, and equally it goes the same way, 1, 2, 2.5. So there's your center 0, which you've got a center line just down that platform. You can maybe just see the grids, just and no more. I'm going to tilt just kind of ever so slightly, make them up. You've got grids that are working down that every ½ inch line there. So what that means is if I turn it on its side, you've also got inches starting with the 0 in the center. So you've got you've actually got 1/8 of an inch, but you've actually got that actual indent line, which are ½ inch lines. ½ inch 1, ½ inch 2, ½ inch 3. Same goes in that other direction. So there's the center point for it lengthwise. So if I turn that around, all that you then really need to do is come down the center, along the center, and there is your center mark. You could put a teeny little Sharpie dot in the center there if you want to, just right into there. There's your center. So what you're wanting to do is anything that you are going to be foiling, you want to make sure that it's within that center part there. So that is how you can work out where to center. So if I were to, let's have a look and see, what have I got here? I did have, so for instance, here's like an older laurel wreath that we've got. So for that, if you wanted it to be centered within your cardstock, let's actually do this because it also explains the center of the positioning of the card. So I'm going to take just a piece of white card. Let's say, for instance, let's cut that to 5. Let's do 5 by 5 here. I'm going to go in with this laurel wreath here, and we're just going to let that do its countdown. So I'll show you how you can center the foil press stamp, but then obviously if you're wanting it centered within the card, it's all about centering the cardstock. So we'll show you that. Let's do a little bit of green just for a little bit of point of difference here, and then we'll go back to the other questions. So I'm going to trim that off. Let's just make sure that we've got just enough. Now you could do this off the roll, although you're not going to be wasting any of this because you could do patchwork when it comes to foiling. So you can easily use all of these little bits. I usually keep them in a little tub or a little container. Now, if we go back to what I said beforehand, if we were to look at that, you know, some may argue it's a small, some may argue it's a medium. This is where you're going to have a little bit of a play. I would always go for the small to start with, and then if I've got underfoiling, which means foil, there's no foil where I want it to be, I'll just increase it. So it's still on with the 300 GSM cardstock. So as I said, let's have a look. We've got the small, we're on low. I'm going to go 10 seconds here so we can then pop that in. So looking at my center point, which is there, so I'm going to line that up within the center. I'm going to bring my carbon plate. It would help if I went to 10 seconds. and we're going to press start. We're going to let that do its thing just by counting down. So we just went to the 10 seconds there. So my Foilpress stamp is in the centre of my platform. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to then pop that on, but I'm going to take this and I'm just following my grids here so that I can get that centred. So once that's in there, I'm in, by following the grids, I'm in that centred position. I'm then going to go in with my plate. We're going to slide that one out. I'm going to go in with my Foilpress into my G2. Remember, if you're using the OG Gemini, the A4 one, you'll need your extender plate instead. As that comes out, I'm going to move that one out the way. And then if I then peel that off, we've got that within the centre. Now, you can see I've got a little bit. That is just from little glue gunk that was just in the centre there. But that's in the centre of my cardstock. So all that you're going to want to do is you are wanting to then follow the grids. I know it's harder to see on screen, but if you get yours out, you will see the actual grids in there. So shall we go like that? There we go. Look at that. Sam's the man. Hey, Sam's our man. If anyone can do it, Sam can. So we've got the grids in there as well. So you're simply following the grid. If it does help, put a teeny little Sharpie dot within the centre, just so you've got that visual, but follow the grids. That goes for your cardstock as well, just following the grid. So I hope that one was centred. That was Crafting, not Crafting by Hillary. Right, Tracy on YouTube is saying, I bought a Foilpress die by mistake. I was wondering, would it work within my G2? Yes, it'll work within your G2, it'll work within your Junior. Let's take, shall I take that one? No, that one's not open. Not that it really matters. Let's go in. If we've got another different, here we go. I like this. We've done lots and lots of border ones in the past as well. You can have a look, see what you've got within your stash, but you can absolutely use them within your Gemini with the embossing mat here. So keeping in mind, these won't cut. These do not have that cutting edge. These are your Foilpress stamp, which is going to essentially stamp the foil into position or emboss it, as we're going to do. So if we go in with this edgeable that we've got, and I'm going to go in with another bit of black cardstock. I'm doing black. The reason I do black a lot when it comes to the Foilpress is because that will show any imperfections. Now I know it's a little bit like, well, why would you do that to yourself? Because the result is phenomenal. It really, really is phenomenal. So that's why I like to then do it within the black. So if I go in, just a piece of cardstock, and then I've got my Foilpress stamp here. Now, if I go in with my plates, so we are going to take my plates, but we need our embossing mat. So let's bring this one in. So let's take our base. I'm then going to go in with my embossing mat. I'm then going to go in with my cardstock. I'm then going to go in with my Foilpress stamp facing downwards. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to go in with my frosted, take out my magnetic, don't want my magnetic, and then we're going to put in our top plate. So it is exactly the same as if you had die cut your die, and then now you're going to emboss that detail. All you're doing is you're cutting out the die cutting step and you're going straight in to the emboss. So if I then move that one out of the way just here, what we've then got, can we see that embossed detail? I'm just going to grab some Gildan wax, and then we can then ink it up, and then you can see that you're going to get that indentation from the detail of that foiling stamp. So if you ever see elsewhere, not naming names, but if you ever elsewhere see Crafter's Companion Foilpress stamps, but you don't have a foiling machine, don't worry. I would still grab hold of them and then start to use them to emboss with your gilding wax onto your card, or this could be your ink if you wanted it to be. I mean, look at that. How smart is that? And you can do that with any of your foil press stamps. So yes, if you've got one by mistake, or if you do see them anywhere at a really nice price, grab hold of them, and then that could be the embossed detail. You could go in with little gems in there if you wanted it to be, and then that could be on a bookmark if you wanted it to be. Pop the little gems in there, your highlights in there, you can do that, no problem whatsoever. So yes, there is ways in which you can use your foil press stamps without the aid of a foil press. This always happens when I get going with the actual foil press. I end up with stuff everywhere, but that's the fun thing. That's the great thing about the foil presses. You just get to play. We have also got, so Dawn Barry on YouTube is saying, hi all, I'm glad this is on, as I have the foil press monogram alphabets, but I can't get hold of the plate that holds the 3 letters. Can't get hold of the plate, yes. That, I don't think we've got any foiling or any foil press items on our website anymore. I can't get hold of the plate that holds the 3. This is going to be one of those, you know, where I have to say, I'm going to say, you may actually have to look elsewhere. We don't do them anymore. Maybe have a look on those other sites, and you know, where you can get them inexpensively or someone selling them off. If you have a look on those sites, Dawn, I'm only saying that because we don't do them anymore, so I'm just trying to think how I can help you on that way. Go on to Google, have a look, see if that's what you're meaning, the actual plate that actually holds them in, like I think you're meaning. I would just go online and have a look, type them in the search, see what comes up, maybe someone's selling them up. Right, thanks. So Rachel's let me now know. To use the letters on their own, oh, I got you. Now Rachel's trying to help, I see. To use the letters on their own, could just line them up straight on the grid, right? Absolutely, yeah. So if you want to use the letters on their own, then absolutely. Do what I've done there before. If you want to then just line them up on that grid, you can absolutely do that. If you are looking for a specific plate to pop them in, do you know what? I'm coming off on holiday a week on Friday, so I'm going to say it. Have a look on eBay, have a look on Amazon, have a look on these sorts of places and that as well. We don't have them anymore, so do you know what? Go on, have a little look, have a little nosy. They're called the monogram sets. So have a look, and hopefully that will help. If anyone else can help Dawn, by all means, let Dawn know. But yeah, that would be my best advice. Karen, thank you so much for this class. My craft table ends up full when I'm designing. Yeah, we're not crafting unless we are in a mess, are we? Right, shall we have, do you know what, I need a drink of my juice here. We've got Trudy is saying, I always get confused how to sandwich everything. Right, really good question on that one. Let's have a recap on that one. So let's recap foiling as normal, and then let's recap the waste technique as well. The waste technique's not in the booklet. This is something that Leanne had adapted when we first launched the foil press, so therefore it's not in the book. It's all on YouTube, done it hundreds and hundreds of times, but let's have a recap here. So let's say it's beeped to say we are ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in with our foil press stamp or our normal die. You're going to go on. What you're then going to do is you're then going to put your foil over the top. Let's just pretend that's the foil. So you're going to do your foil. You're then going to do your cardstock. And then you're going to do your carbon plate. So that is if you're wanting to foil a normal foil press stamp or a normal die. That's the plate configuration for that one. So that is your foil press stamp, that is your foil, then it's your card, then it's your plate. Now, when it comes to the waste technique, what you're going to do is you're then going to then take the foil that you've already used, shiny side down. You're then going to put on the cardstock that you're wanting to foil. You're then going to do 2 shims of 300 GSM, magnetic shim, and then your top plate again. That is the ones that you're going to be using when it comes to the waste technique. For anyone that does have foil and cut stamps, which look like this one here, what you're going to do here, you're following the times in the booklet, but what you're wanting to do here is you do get a metal shim. Now, this is a different metal shim that comes with your Gemini. This is a little bit thicker. All in the booklet, all on YouTube. But you're going to go in with the base. You're then going to go in with that Foilpress metal platform. You're going to go in with that foil and cut. As you can see, it's a dark grey. You're then going to go in with your chosen foil. Let's just, I can reuse this. You're going to go in with your foil. You're then going to go in with your card. And then what you're going to do is you're going to add in your metal shim from your junior. Then your plate. So if you've got one of our foil and cut, that's what you're going to do. So again, let's recap that one. So you have your platform. You're going to put in your metal shim that comes with your foil press. It is your foil and cut stamp. It's your foil, the card that you're wanting to foil and cut, metal shim from your junior, and you can use that with your junior and the foil press, then the carbon plate, then of course you press that time and what have you by following the booklet and run it through. So those 3 there are the kind of the 3 main things that we tend to do when it comes to foiling, and of course the platforms. Dawn, you are very welcome. You are very, very welcome. No, we don't want you to go on. A couple more, haven't we? Yeah, so how do I know if I've overfoiled? You're going to have foil on that excess side where you don't want it to be. So this is why it's imperative as well that what you're wanting to do is when you've got your foil, you've got the foil cut to just the exact size. If you've got an overlay of foil, what's then going to happen is that foil is going to come in contact with the cardstock, that heat's going to build, it's going to go through, and that excess foil is going to adhere to your cardstock where you don't want it. Some mediums, like fabrics and that, you can take an eraser and kind of like rub that out. Cardstock's a little bit more difficult, doesn't really work that way. So the best thing is just make sure your foil is just to size. That's going to avoid any of that, hopefully. Are there different kind of foils? So the foils that we've done, I touched upon at the start, you've got your paper craft foil, you've got your multi-craft foil. I have only, in all the years that we've done the foil press, I've not even gone through one roll of the multi-craft foil. I know you think multi-craft foil, so it's going to go all your different mediums. Very, very, very rarely do I use the multi-craft foil. I'll always use the paper craft foil. So that's card, shedless glitter, mirror, vellum, acetate, leather, real leather. I will use that for all of the foiling. So yes, there is. Now, when it comes to foiling as a whole, for our foil press, you can use other brands, but it has to be heat-based foils. So you can't use cold foils. So you know the old transfers that you used to get with the glues, the transfers that like we'd done in the Western. So the foils that came in with the Western collection, you can't use within the foil press because they're not heat-based foils. So yes, you can use other foils. They do need to be heat-based foils. I don't know if Keith from Paper Dynamics still does foils. If he did, and they were heat-based foils, so you could use them. So hopefully that helps. Lynn Martin, sounds daft. There is never a daft question. Don't ever worry about that. Nothing sounds daft. If you're unsure, ask away. But I still can't tell if a die has a cutting edge or not. Well, we covered that earlier on as well, didn't we? All about the tip of the die. So a normal die that you would die cut has that really fine tip. We call it a blade, but as you know, it doesn't cut because, of course, it's the pressure of the Gemini. Your foil press stamp has that little bit more of that wider aspect there. So what that's doing is that's giving you that foiled stamped impression as if it's been like an actual stamp with your ink. So hopefully, I think I've done okay and I've managed to cover all of those questions that you guys were really, really struggling with. All that I keep saying, I'm going to keep saying it time again, please do not get overly daunted by it. I know at first glance, if you've not got it out the box, I know it's a little bit, whoa, it foils everything. Just strip it right back. get the confidence with the cardstock, get it with your white card, your black card, maybe experiment with the waste technique I've shown you here. Then once you've got that confidence there and you're nailing it, go in with acetate, nail it, go in with vellum, nail it, take it one step at a time. You know then, of course, that you're going to be nailing it every single time. And every single time we bring out a collection at Crafter's Companion, you know within the wafer thin dies, you're going to be able to then use them in with the foil press. Go back on YouTube, add this to the playlist if you have found it helpful, which by the looks of it you have done, brilliant. But also go back onto Crafter's Companion YouTube, type in foil press. Now I'll be honest with you, predominantly it's mostly me. It's doing the foil press, but you will get Debbie's take, you will get Sarah's take, you will get Leanne's take as well. But you're going to get that step by through. We've done acetate, we've done shedless glitter, we've done vellum, we've done fabrics, we've done the alphabets, we've done so much more when it comes to the actual foil press. I could go hours and hours and hours. I was determined, I gave you my word last week that I was determined to get the Craft Your Stash in before I come off next week. Apologies if you didn't quite notice in advance that we were doing it today, but you can go back, watch it whenever you like, add it to your playlist, and we are still always here if you've got any questions. You know me, I'm never off social, so if you ever have got questions, if you set, here's the thing as well, if you send our customer service a question about the foil press, it comes back to me direct. So you're welcome to go to Sharon and the team, incredible team. If it is the foil press, you're more than welcome to come to me on social, and I will do everything I can to give you a hand. Thank you so much, Rachel, for your help. Thank you, Sam, and thank you, Matty. Me and the big dog, Ben, we're going to be back in an hour's time if you are watching live. Always remember, go on to Crafter's Companion YouTube. That's where you're going to find everything. But it being Tuesday, we're going to go into a wake-up call before we go into a masterclass of the great outdoors. And then we're going to have our Tuesday party all about, well, our recent launches. That's what we're going to be having a look at. It's me, it's Ben. Any other specific questions? If you still have something about the foil press, although I'm not looking at the foil press for the remaining of today, if there is still something particular that you want to know, maybe you didn't know we were live with the foil press, let Ben know in the socials. He'll fire it across and we will help you. Right, I'm waiting to warm a cup of tea. We'll see you in an hour.